Good afternoon, bonjour. I am Corporal Melanie Roussel with the Manitoba RCMP. Je suis la caporale Mélanie Roussel avec la GRC du Manitoba. We acknowledge we are gathered on Treaty 1 territory and that Manitoba is located on the treaty territories and ancestral lands of the Anishinaabe, Anishinaabe, Dakota, Dene, and Neto nations. The Manitoba is located on the homeland of the Red River Métis, and northern Manitoba includes lands that were and are the ancestral lands of the Inuit. We respect the spirit and intent of treaties and treaty making and remain committed to working in partnerships with First Nations, Métis, Inuit people in the spirit of truth, reconciliation, and collaboration. Nous reconnaissons que nous sommes rassemblés sur le territoire du traité numéro 1 et que le Manitoba est situé sur le territoire visé par des traités et les terres ancestrales des diverses nations, à savoir les Anishinaabe, Anishinaabe, les Dakota, les Dene et les Neto. Nous reconnaissons que le Manitoba est situé sur la terre natale de la nation métisse de la Rivière-Rouge et que le nord du Manitoba comprend le territoire qui était et demeure le territoire ancestral des Inuits. Nous respectons l'esprit et l'intention des traités et de leur élaboration et nous nous engageons à travailler en partenariat avec les Premières Nations, les Métis et les Inuits dans un esprit de vérité, de réconciliation et de collaboration. Thank you all for coming today. Merci d'être venus aujourd'hui. With me today are Assistant Commissioner Commanding Officer of the Division, Scott McMurtry, Superintendent Rob Lawson of the Manitoba RCMP Major Crime Services, Dr. Rob Greason, Dr. Young from Shared Health, Chief Larry Barker of Hollow Water First Nations, and the Honorable Rob Canoe, Premier of Manitoba. Je suis accompagnée aujourd'hui du commissaire adjoint, commandant de la division D, Scott McMurtry, superintendant Rob Lawson, du service des crimes majeurs de la GRC du Manitoba, le Dr. Rob Greason et Sean Young, des soins communs, Larry Barker, chef des Premières Nations de Hollow Water, et Monsieur le ministre Rob Canoe, Premier ministre du Manitoba. They will be speaking of the serious incident that occurred earlier this morning in Hollow Water First Nations. Ils parleront d'un incident grave qui s'est produit plus tôt ce matin dans la Première Nation de Hollow Water. Following Assistant Commissioner Scott McMurtry and Superintendent Rob Lawson remarks, they will be provided in French. Après les remarques du commissaire adjoint Scott McMurtry et du superintendant Rob Lawson, celles-ci seront lues en français. Thank you. Merci.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for being here today on a very difficult and tragic day. Chief Barker, your council, Premier Canoe, Minister Wiebe, our partners from Shared Health, thank you. On behalf of the RCMP, I wish first and foremost to extend our condolences to the family who lost a loved one or loved ones today. Our thoughts are also with the victims who are in hospital with serious injuries and with the entire community of Hollow Water First Nation. We also have a police officer who was seriously injured today during this event and is currently recovering in hospital. We are still while we are still determining what occurred, we do know that this officer was in a police vehicle and was responding to the scene when she was involved in a serious motor vehicle collision with the suspect on Provincial Road 304. This collision resulted in the unfortunate death of the suspect and was the cause of the injuries sustained by our officer. I was able to attend Health Sciences here just before lunch today to visit our officer and some of her family members, and we do expect her to make a full recovery. Without any doubt, she put her life at risk for the safety and security of Manitobans, and I wish to extend my heartfelt thanks to her and to all the RCMP officers who responded this morning. What happened early this morning is a tragedy for the community and Hollow Water First Nation and for all of Manitoba. I can assure you that we will conduct a thorough and comprehensive investigation into all the aspects of this event and what occurred. Again, my thoughts are with everyone who has been affected by this senseless act of violence. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Superintendent Rob Lassen. I'm the officer in charge of Major Crime Services for the RCMP in Manitoba. Firstly, I'd like to thank everybody, as our commanding officer mentioned, for being here today. It shows the solidarity across Manitoba when we're addressing issues like this in our province. I'm here today just to share a few events of what happened, or provide an outline of what happened this morning to provide a little bit of clarity. Early this morning, members of the Hollow Water First Nation awoke to devastating and tragic news within their very tight-knit, loving community. We hold Hollow Water First Nation community members in our thoughts, and we will do, as the RCMP, provide utmost help to everyone and those who have been impacted from this terrible event and difficult time. Moving forward this afternoon, I'm here to take you through events that happened early this morning in the community and just south in the community of Black River. Please understand the information is always changing and evolving as we speak, as our officers are still in the community and going from house to house, ensuring that the community is safe, and we're also ensuring that there's no other further victims that are left needing our help in the community. It's a dynamic and ever-changing event, and we as the RCMP want to make sure that everybody is addressed and cared for. Even though it's only been a short few hours since this event initiated, we have reviewed the events that led to the following, and we have reviewed the events that led to the stabbing and can confirm the following. Early this morning at 3:45 a.m., a First Nation safety officer contacted the RCMP to advise that 30 minutes prior, an assault had taken place in Hollow Water First Nation. He advised that the suspect had fled the scene and emergency medical services were requested to attend. At 5:53 a.m., the RCMP received a call of a possible stabbing in the community, to which we responded. Based on the risk assessment of this call, officers from numerous and multiple detachments were dispatched and responded immediately up to the Hollow Water First Nation community. Upon arrival, officers unfortunately located a number of people suffering serious injuries sustained from stab wounds. They were also alerted to a second scene, which caused concern. Another residence in the community they attended to where even more additional victims were located who were sustained from knife wounds. In total, 8 community members ranging in age from 18 to 60 years of age had sustained injuries during this incident. We can confirm, sadly, that an 18-year-old female has died as a result of these injuries. Following the stabbings, the suspect, who was Tyrone Simard, who was a 26-year-old male from the community of Hollow Water, fled the community in a stolen vehicle and fled south towards the community of Black River. The vehicle was located by the RCMP near Black River First Nation, traveling south on PR Highway 304. It was at this time, when the vehicle was located at approximately 6:53 a.m., that the suspect collided with the RCMP cruiser that was driving northbound towards the scene to respond. The suspect, Tyrone, succumbed to his injuries on scene due to the fatal motor vehicle accident. The officer driving the police car northbound was injured and was transported to hospital with critical but non-life-threatening injuries. Right now, I understand and acknowledge that there are many, many unanswered questions that need to be answered. The RCMP, we are very committed, working with our partners, as many of you are here today, to work together and do everything to get not only the answers, but it's important that we get the accurate answers to share to the province and to the families and to the victims when they recover. I can assure you that we have a very fulsome expert investigative team situated in Hollow Water right now with forensic investigators as well as major crime investigators and members from the Forensic Collision Reconstruction Unit and members from multiple detachments from across the area. Please know that we will investigate this thoroughly and fully and communicate you throughout the process as we move forward. Thank you.
Thank you. As mentioned, I'm going to read the remarks in French, and then Dr. Greason will be speaking. Merci à tous d'être ici aujourd'hui, en cette journée très difficile et tragique. Au nom de la GRC, je tiens à présenter nos condoléances à la famille qui a perdu un être cher ce matin. Nos pensées vont également aux victimes qui sont hospitalisées pour des blessures graves et à toute la communauté de la Première Nation de Hollow Water. Une policière a également été gravement blessée et elle est hospitalisée. Nous sommes encore en train de déterminer ce qui s'est passé, mais nous savons que cette policière se trouvait dans un véhicule de police et se rendait sur les lieux lorsqu'elle a été impliquée dans une collision automobile grave avec le suspect sur la route provinciale 304. Cette collision a entraîné la mort du suspect et causé des blessures à la policière. Je viens de rendre visite à cette policière à l'hôpital et nous prévoyons qu'elle s'en remettra complètement. Il n'y a aucun doute qu'elle a risqué sa vie pour assurer la sécurité des Manitobains et je tiens à lui exprimer ma sincère gratitude, ainsi qu'à tous les policiers de la GRC qui sont intervenus ce matin. Ce qui s'est passé tôt ce matin est une tragédie pour la Première Nation de Hollow Water et pour tous les Manitobains. Je peux vous assurer que nous mènerons une enquête approfondie et exhaustive sur tous les aspects de ce qui s'est passé. Une fois encore, mes pensées vont à toutes les personnes qui ont été touchées par cet acte de violence insensé. Tôt ce matin, les citoyens de la Première Nation de Hollow Water ont été réveillés par une nouvelle tragique et dévastatrice au sein de leur communauté très soudée. Nos pensées vont aux membres de la communauté de la Première Nation de Hollow Water et nous ferons tout de notre possible pour aider les personnes touchées à traverser cette période difficile. Je suis venue ici pour vous présenter les événements qui se sont déroulés ce matin. Veuillez comprendre que les informations changent constamment car nos policiers sont toujours dans la communauté et font du porte-à-porte pour s'assurer que tout le monde est en sécurité et qu'il n'y a pas d'autres victimes. Nous avons examiné les événements qui ont conduit à l'attaque au couteau et pouvons confirmer ce qui suit. À 3h44, un agent de la sécurité communautaire des Premières Nations a contacté la GRC pour leur informer qu'une agression avait eu lieu 30 minutes plus tôt dans la Première Nation de Hollow Water. Le suspect avait pris la fuite et les services médicaux d'urgence ont été appelés sur les lieux. À 5h53, la GRC a reçu un appel signalant une attaque au couteau dans la communauté. Des agents de plusieurs détachements ont été dépêchés sur les lieux et sont intervenus immédiatement. À leur arrivée, les policiers ont trouvé plusieurs personnes souffrant de blessures à l'arme blanche. Ils ont également été alertés qu'il y avait une deuxième scène, soit une autre résidence de la communauté, et d'autres victimes ont été retrouvées. Au total, 8 membres de la communauté, âgés de 18 à 60 ans, ont été blessés lors de cet incident. Nous pouvons confirmer qu'une femme de 18 ans est décédée suite à ces blessures. À la suite de l'attaque au couteau, le suspect, Tyrone Seymour, un homme de 26 ans de la Première Nation de Hollow Water, s'est enfui de la communauté dans un véhicule volé. Le véhicule a été localisé près de la Première Nation de Black River, roulant vers le sud sur la route provinciale 304. À 6h53, le suspect est entré en collision avec une voiture de police qui se rendait sur les lieux en direction nord. Le suspect a succombé à ses blessures sur place. La policière blessée a été transportée à l'hôpital avec des blessures graves, mais sa vie n'est pas en danger. Nous savons qu'il y a beaucoup de questions sans réponse, mais nous nous engageons à faire notre possible pour obtenir des réponses pour les familles des victimes et les communautés touchées. Sachez que nous mènerons une enquête approfondie et que nous communiquerons avec vous tout au long du processus. Merci. I would ask Dr. Greason to come.
Good afternoon. My name is Rob Grierson. I'm the Chief Medical Officer for Shared Health Emergency Response Services. Before I make some comments, I'd like to say on behalf of both myself and everyone involved with Emergency Response Services for Shared Health, our heartfelt condolences go out to all the families affected by this terrible tragedy this morning. Our thoughts and prayers are with everybody in the community of Hollow Water. I'd also like to thank greatly all of the first responders and paramedics that were involved in the response this morning. Their extraordinary efforts have supported the lives and the care of a number of individuals who were transported this morning. As we've already heard from our RCMP colleagues, at approximately 5:53 this morning, there was a call to 911. The call obviously went to the RCMP. It also came to our medical communications center in Brandon of a potential number of stab victims. As a result, 3 initial ambulances were dispatched to the scene, in addition to our STARS air ambulance helicopter. The first ground ambulance arrived and staged on scene in the community of Hollow Water at 6:25, and then proceeded into the location of the incident once the scene was safe from the RCMP perspective. In a total, 6 ground ambulances responded to the community along with 2 helicopters. STARS was able to dispatch their baseline helicopter and then their backup helicopter as well. As a result, 8 patients were transported from the scene. 2 were transported by STARS air ambulance, both in critical condition, to the Health Sciences Center. An additional patient was transported by ground ambulance to the Health Sciences Center in critical condition. 4 other patients were transported by ground ambulance to Health Sciences Center in what we would consider urgent or unstable condition, but not life-threatening. And then a 3rd patient that was stable was transported to the Selkirk Regional Health Center and may eventually end up being transported to the Health Sciences Center. Those are my comments, and I'll hand over to Dr. Young to maybe provide an update on the patients that were transported. And I'll be available for questions afterwards. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Dr. Sean Young, Chief Operating Officer of the Health Sciences Center. Today our hearts are heavy as we respond to the tragic event that occurred this morning on Hollow River First Nation. Our deepest sympathies go out to the victims, their families and loved ones, and the entire community that's been affected by this profound tragedy. We stand with you in this difficult time. As more information about the gravity of the situation became available, a code orange alert was declared at the Health Sciences Center at 8:14 this morning. Our dedicated staff immediately mobilized with focus, compassion, and urgency to receive those that required our care. As was mentioned, 6 patients were transported from the community by ground ambulance and 2 more by STARS. We have received 7 individuals at the Health Sciences Center. 1 was stabilized and transferred to Selkirk, as you mentioned. Beyond providing the highest level of medical treatment, we are also deeply committed to offering holistic care during this crisis. Members of our spiritual care team and Indigenous health services are on site, working closely with patients and families to provide comfort, counseling, and hope during this difficult moment. Our entire team, doctors, nurses, allied health, spiritual health, and other support staff and leadership are here, fully prepared and ready to support the physical, emotional, and spiritual needs of everyone who comes through our doors. We are proud to serve our communities, especially in times of great need. We will continue to stand with Hollow River First Nation and for all those affected. Thank you.
I would like to invite Chief Larry Barker.
First of all, I'd like to my deepest condolences to my community and every member that's out there. And this tragedy that happened early this morning, I can't comment on anything right now. of what has happened, because the RCMPs are doing their investigation. But I ask the community to pray and support one another out there. And my prayers goes to the people that are in the hospital right now, recovering. Now, and I'll ask the community to continue to pray for them, for their recovery. And I'll be going out there to visit them, the families. The families was very close to me. And my deepest condolences to the family right now. So I'll pray as hard as I could for their recovery. And that's all I'd like to say right now. Community to get together, do their prayers, support one another right now. Thank you.
I would like to invite the Honourable Rob Canoe, Premier of Manitoba, to step to the podium.
Oh, this feels tragic in Manitoba today. This is a time of year where we're sending our kids back to school. Many of us as parents did that this week. And instead, we have a community that is preparing to bury its young. It's a time of year in this province where we harvest the bounty of the land, and yet we have some of our fellow Manitobans in hospital consoling their loved ones who were the victims of something terrible here. One of whom is a police officer who we're still finding out the details of what happened about, but we can say that she is a hero. We don't know the specifics yet. We will in the coming days, I'm sure. But she stopped a man on a rampage. So on behalf of the province of Manitoba, I thank her. And I send my sincere condolences to the family members of the victim and also to the survivors. I send you our best encouragement for your healing. To the leadership and to the community members of Hollow Water, our hearts are with you. Our hearts feel very heavy. And we will be there to support you in the ways that are necessary. In these difficult moments, I want to thank our first responders, the RCMP, the paramedics, STARS Air Ambulance teams that responded to keep people safe and to begin the process of nursing people back to life. I want to acknowledge the medical leadership and the frontline staff at the hospitals, at the Health Sciences Centre and in Selkirk. This is what we see of the best of Manitoba. People stepping up to help those in need during a time of crisis, and doing so with grace and with courage. So we say thank you. I also want to acknowledge that this is personal for one of the members of our team in your provincial government. Our Minister of Natural Resources and Indigenous Futures, Ian Bushy, is a band member of Chief Barker's community, is a proud citizen of Hollow Water First Nation, and is, as we speak at home, reeling in the way that his fellow community members are. And so I'll be traveling to go see my friend later today and to offer him encouragement and support through this unimaginable moment. There's a lot that we need to do to respect the investigation that's going on with the RCMP right now, but what I will share publicly is that I've offered our government's support to Chief Barker and to the leadership and to the community members of Hollow Water First Nation to ensure safety. And I say this to everyone in Manitoba. Our primary responsibility is always to ensure your safety as Manitobans. And when something like this happens, the immediate response needs to be law enforcement. Somebody with a gun, somebody with a badge needs to show up when something bad is happening. But we also as Manitobans know that for the long-term safety of our communities, we have to help with healing. We have to help with supports. We have to help with the encouragement necessary for those who are really, really struggling. And here I'm not talking about the suspect. We bring the hammer down on those responsible. I'm talking about people who are suffering in community, who are battling addictions, who are battling unresolved trauma, who are the victims of terrible abuse when they're young. We will be there with compassion and support for them. And so that's how we're going to work together to support this community. A community that did nothing to deserve this, a community that's full of great people that I've had the pleasure to visit on many occasions. We will be there with a swift and strong response to ensure that there is safety in the immediate sense, but we'll also be there with the compassion and support to ensure that there's safety there in the longer term sense. And so yeah, we think about back to school time of year. We think about the harvest in the prairie provinces of Manitoba and the rest of Western Canada. And I just think about young people. I think about the kids who are wondering what's going on in their province and their community. And so we're going to work together to make sure that your path is to be one of these people helping on the front lines. Your path is going to be one of the first responders who goes in to make it safe for other people. Your path is going to be a leader, to be somebody who helps the others in their community. So like I said on election night, if you take a step towards a good path, our government is going to make sure that there's a path there for you in the future. And so as young people in this province try to process what is going on here, mourn their friends in some cases, and ponder the future of their communities, I just want to encourage you to do so with kindness and love in your hearts, and the encouragement that we're going to be there to help you. And we will get through this difficult moment the way we always do as Manitobans when we're confronted with difficult times, by getting through it together. Miigwech bizindaayik. Merci. Thank you.
We will be taking a few questions. On va répondre à quelques questions.
From your CP, please, can you clarify the 18-year-old deceased is in addition to, or is it one of the 8 sustained injuries?
Sir, would you mind answering the question again, please?
Yes. Just to clarify, 8 injured plus one 18-year-old who is deceased, or is the 18-year-old deceased among 8 injured?
In total, there was 8 community members that were injured. And within that, the 18-year-old female died from their injuries, so there were 7 injured and 1 deceased.
Thank you very much.
And that also is the suspect is a 9th person, so that's not included in the 8.
In fact, the deceased in the vehicle was 9.
What were there any complaints prior to this calendar date, especially yesterday, regarding the suspect, and what was the response to those complaints?
So that's a very good question. And as we briefed earlier, that those events are going to be fully investigated by the investigative team as we speak. They're going to be going through that. But additionally, the RCMP as an organization, we will conduct an informal, non-investigative, non-criminal investigation to assess all of our steps moving forward and what may have caused the incident. So I'm not obliged to answer that right now because that's going to be part of the investigation.
Can you confirm that there were any calls about this individual prior to this calendar date?
Yeah, I'm not going to get into the number or type of calls. I'm in respect for the community, respect for the family, and respect for the victims.
Was he known to police before?
Yes, I can say he was known to police, but I'm not going to get into detail on his involvement with the police.
Can you tell us whether the 18-year-old is in any way related to this?
Yes, the 18-year-old is his sister.
Okay. Can you identify her at all? Because we don't have a name today.
You know what, just for everybody here today, like, the families here, you know, we have community leaders here. I don't want to get into really intimate details about the victim and the people that are still struggling in hospital, clinging to life and being treated. So I'd like to refrain from those types of questions, please.
What was the relation between the suspect and I suppose the victim as well, and the other victims who survived?
They were all known to each other within the community.
Were some of them also relatives?
I'm not sure about relatives, or their cousins, brothers, or sisters, but they were all known to each other.
In terms of an original question, what role, if any, did the incomplete or absence of service have this morning in the communication of the events to emergency services?
You know, I'm not sure of that. We did hear from Shared Health Manitoba, and I think our response in the call for emergency response was very efficient. And on that too, I'd be remiss. I want to really thank our First Nation safety officers that are embedded in the community and supported by the Chief and Council of Hollow Water, as they were truly the first law enforcement or first responders on scene. And they provided that immediate life-saving, and they were able to work through any challenges to make those calls to get the help there.
The reason I ask is, and I do not have this confirmed, but that there are reports that initial complaints or initial calls had to go through Facebook because of there was no cell phone service available.
Yeah, I'm not going to go down the road about talking about Facebook because there's a lot of rumors and innuendos on Facebook. So all we can go with.
This did not come from Facebook, but allow me to be clear. This was an individual who told us that they had to use Facebook internet to communicate the emergency, not because cell phone.
Sure, I'm not sure.
Not at this time.
Can we talk about the hero that the Premier called this police officer her hero? Can we talk a bit about her?
Absolutely.
Yeah, can you tell us her name, who she is, how she got there?
Yeah, I won't divulge her name right now because she is still in hospital and recovering as well. But what I can say, as her commanding officer said, she was responding to an incident that most people run away from, right? She was responding to an incident early in the morning, likely woken out of bed or maybe worked all night, right? So responding with courage up that highway, a dark highway early in the morning, and stop this threat. What I can say is if the threat wouldn't have been stopped at that time, the RCMP would have had a very busy, challenging day today. So I'll just leave it at that. But truly a hero. She stopped the incident.
Any more details we can provide?
The collision itself, as if was this a pure coincidence that they happened to be driving in opposite directions and then they collided, or?
I know that's an answer or a question the public is going to want to know. We're not prepared to go into details on that because right now it's actively being investigated. We have people on scene, our forensic collision reconstructionist, who are measuring the scene and collecting evidence right now. So I don't have all the exact details.
Usually when police, in a case like this, when a police officer is injured and then we have a suspect like this or something like that, there's an independent unit that then investigates something like that. Right. Is there something happening like that here?
Absolutely, yeah. In our normal process, the Manitoba Independent Investigative Unit was engaged right at the onset into this as, an individual passed away during police involvement.
You have a suspect that is now dead. How do you move forward in this investigation to get answers for what occurred?
Right. So our best evidence is always from people, and our best evidence often comes from community support. Our best evidence will come from the people that were actually involved. The challenge to these types of investigations is the people we need to talk to are undergoing treatment, and some severe treatment and care right now. So we are not going to barge in there and try to interview them right now. We're going to treat that with respect and care. But there is a lot of other investigative steps that need to be taken care of. As I mentioned earlier, our primary focus is to canvass the community and talk to anybody out there that may have seen or heard anything. And with that comes, we want to ensure there's no other victims out there, that may still be in a residence or outside that need our care. So first and foremost, and then we will gather the evidence from the people that were victimized this morning.
Victims were there at each scene you had at the two homes?
So that one there, that's a very sensitive issue in regards to investigation, so I won't be commenting on that because there were multiple scenes.
Can you speak a little bit more to the challenges of addressing an investigation like this whereas this wasn't just one particular house, it was multiple residences. Can you speak to the challenge and the protocol and kind of what happens when that call comes in?
Every time we have these types of calls, it's very challenging. But we as a division, we practice. In fact, earlier this week, we did a tabletop exercise on how we would deploy and manage these types of situations. So we're very confident in managing that. We've learned from the past, and we bring those forward to do the best we can. But I do have to say, and everybody can understand, that every one of these types of situations is different. It may come down to geographics, to what the suspect actions are, who they are, the sophistication of the suspect. Everything's different. But to answer your question more specifically is, we always want to flood resources at the front end. We want to lock it down. We want to stop the threat and care for our people. And that's what we did. We deployed the members from our GD detachments from Powerview, Pine Falls, Lactamani. I believe Selkirk, Beausejour started going that way. So we want to flood that area and take care of it right away, lock it down.
Could you or someone tell us a little bit, I imagine because we have the health officials here too, maybe they could share a little bit about the injuries to these victims? You know, I know we're not gonna get into the details of that as it's evolving, as you said, but we just wanna understand whether, you know, these 7 victims there's enough resources around for that kind of a thing, you know, because there's moving parts, some of them are being moved to Selkirk, one of them at least, right? Things like that. Can we sort of get an update on where their injuries are at?
Yeah, like as you can understand, if people are going to, say, Selkirk or versus HSC, their injuries are going to vary in severity. But what I can say is that their injuries are due to stab wounds, so puncture wounds like was mentioned earlier. Yeah.
We'll be taking 2 more questions after this.
Yeah, thanks for the question. 7 patients arrived at St. Bon or at Health Science Center Trauma, as you know. One of them had a non-penetrating injury, the officer involved. The other 6 had penetrating injuries, 2 of which required operative intervention. So they went to the operating rooms pretty quickly on arrival. One is now one is now out of the operating room and in stable condition, and the other one remains in the operating room still in status. We'll have to update later.
Dr. Young, do you think you have enough resources at HSC to handle something like this?
Yes. It's awful to say this, but this is our work. We receive trauma every single day. 6 or 7 is a bit much in a short period of time, as you know, but it's our role as leaders to clear a path for folks to be able to give room to be able to assess and treat, and we were able to achieve that with the Code Orange alert this morning. So we had enough resources and staff to be able to support their care needs. We had a number of operating rooms on hold as well to support those most critically injured. So they were able to we had a clear path to the operating room for those folks that needed it immediately.
For RCMP, as you may know, today is the 3-year anniversary of the stabbings on James Smith Cree Nation in Saskatchewan, and the details are similar enough to be quite disturbing. Is there any possible link that you're investigating there?
No, there's no link on this one. It's just merely a coincidence of the dates.
You're not investigating it as a copycat, or?
There's nothing to indicate that right now. You know, that will be looked at for sure, especially with social media and the access to everybody out there.
Were there anyone at the residence that these events occurred at that were not hospitalized? Was everyone in the home hospitalized?
That I'm not clear on. I know there was a lot of people there. And, you know, what I want to make clear is during these incidents where there's, you know, a large number of people that are injured or affected, that will come out through the investigation, is because each one of those houses will be isolated and investigated thoroughly, and everybody that was there will be interviewed. So we won't have that exact number or information until that's completed.
There'll be one more question.
There doesn't have to be a link to the James Smith thing, so thank you for clearing that up. But I think what people are also thinking of this is because an investigation into that incident, a report that was done in that sense with the RCMP there, determined that there was nothing that could have been done to prevent, you know, there was enough resources, they did everything they could, the RCMP and everybody involved in that case. Can you tell us that here for today, you know, that you have enough resources, that you handled it with this, you know, TikTok time that you've given us of all these different incidents, you know, the health officials involved, the emergency officials, the police officials. Do you think, as you're speaking today, that you responded to the best of your capabilities? If you had more resources, even then you wouldn't have been able to respond any better?
In this instance, I can confidently say we responded appropriately and properly with the help from our partners. Without shared health and without emergency services like the ambulance and our First Nation safety officers, I felt we had it well under control at the onset. unfortunately, these situations, as I mentioned earlier, you can't account for what someone's going to do, right? So we have to be prepared. And like I said, you mentioned the James Creek First Nation. Well, one of the recommendations out of that was that we practice, and we practice all the time. So we set up proper command triangles, proper, investigative teams to respond. Everybody knows their roles and responsibilities. And the transparency of the outcome is we need to be, be doing that.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Mark.